Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm really excited about this week's video. We have the holidays coming up, and basically I'm giving you guys my favorite kind of new age metaphysical woo-woo products, and you can either gift these to yourself or you could gift them to friends or family. So some of these products are going to be kind of like for newbies, some of them are going to be for the more advanced person, but these are my products that I have been sitting around. I've had them with me for years, and they're like my absolute favorite go-tos. Now, some of these are obviously going to be affiliate links, so if you buy them through the links down below, I will get a small commission, but it's like no extra cost to you at all. But I just want to be transparent about that up front. But really, I don't recommend things that I really don't like. So all of these products I think are fantastic. And if you want to see more, I do have a whole shop on Amazon of all my favorite stuff. Now, if you're new here, welcome. A lot of the stuff that I do on my channel is about teaching you guys how to use your psychic abilities and how to strengthen them. So a lot of the products here today are kind of along those same lines, but subscribe, stick around if you want to see more of my instructional videos. But again, this video is more about going over some of my favorite products that I think that everybody should have. So the first thing I want to show you guys is actually this calendar called Zen as F. And this is the 2021 calendar. I've had it up on my fridge basically this whole entire year. I have the next calendar coming my way for 2022. It's gonna obviously look a little bit different. Each of the months is basically kind of something fun and metaphysical, maybe not as metaphysical as New Age, but there's just hilarious inappropriate words on it. And if I say them out loud, then I get demonetized, so I'm not gonna say it, but you can kind of see what some of these are. And I basically hang this up on my fridge to kind of have like a family calendar. But I absolutely love this calendar. This is great for gifting to people that you might not know super well, but it's funny, but also a little bit zen. Now I'm going to jump into books next. It was really hard to narrow it down to just a few. I have so many that I love and recommend. But the first one is actually a workbook. And I've talked about this so many dang times on my channel. But the Psychic Workbook is great for somebody who's wanting to learn how to become psychic. And there's all sorts of like exercises, there's a lot of teachings in it. I have a whole entire video on this, so I'm not going to go too much in depth. If you're really curious and you want to learn more about it, go check out that video. And I will say, this was made by my mentor, Karen Fox. Everything that I learned came from her program, and everything, I mean, not everything that she taught, but a good chunk of it is in this workbook. So if you like my videos and you like how I teach and you kind of want something physical to play around with, definitely check this one out. Now this next one, I purposely bought this so I could have it after this video. But this is the Moonology Diary for 2022. And so Yasmin Bolin has actually written a ton of books on astrology, and she actually has astrology oracle cards, I believe, as well. But this is like a planner for 2022, and it tells you all the moon phases that are coming up, like what sign it's in and how you can sort of manifest or let go of things, like how should you be using the moon's energy at that time. And I've actually already read this, even though I can't start it till the new year. But it goes over like all the very basics of like the moon phases, the different signs, the different houses. So if you're actually wanting to learn about astrology, but you're not like you don't want to sign up for like a course, I would recommend this because you're actually like learning it real time. You're taking notes on like, okay, this is what this time period felt like to me. So hey, moving forward, I know that when Pisces is here, maybe it'll be something like this. And I'm not like a huge astrology person. I talk about it every now and then, but I use astrology more for manifesting. And so like if I really want to manifest something or let something go, I do that. But if you're somebody who really, you know, wants to day by day plan things, there's like, you know, days, and it says exactly where the moon is and what sign. So you can get really in depth with this kind of stuff. Honestly, I think I will probably be using this every single year. I just love the idea and the concept because I take notes on the moon phases and I try to put it in my personal planner, and I just don't have enough room. And so I'd love to have something separate that I know, okay, this is like my manifesting journal. I think as far as gift giving, this really would work for anybody who's kind of sort of interested, because, you know, they don't have to do the exercises in this book, but but it's like a really good teaching tool, and maybe they'll learn and get a little bit more interested by using this throughout the year. Now, I will never stop recommending this book, Shamanic Journeying. It's really tiny. If you get kind of the older version, it might come with like a CD, but this CD is also on YouTube, just saying. And this is just a really precursor introduction to shamanic journeying, how to get into it, how to actually do it, and then it comes with drumming tracks. I think there's a 12-minute, 20, and 30-minute drumming track in the back, so you can actually practice some of the things that you learn. And I really recommend this because a lot of people have a hard time with meditating, and they get really frustrated, or they're really trying to develop their clairvoyance and they want to be able to see things, and they're really frustrated that they can't. And that's when I always recommend shamanic journeying, because it's a different way, it's a different approach that you can try to connect with your guides, connect and receive messages, meet your power animals. And so this is just a very shamanic way of approaching things, which can be very different for a lot of people who are used to the normal tarot cards, meditations, all of that stuff. It's very different, and I really enjoy this. And this is honestly the way that I meditate most often, is through shamanic journeying. So I absolutely love this book. I have a whole video on it, but that is my next recommendation. Now, this next book I don't actually own, but I'm going to just put a photo of it here. I tried to get it from the library so I could show you guys, but this book is called The Highly Sensitive Person, and I would recommend it for any newbie in sort of the intuitive realm, especially for those people in your life that are super empathic, especially teens and preteens. This might be super helpful for them. But The Highly Sensitive Person just helps you become aware of like, oh, hey, maybe I'm a little empathic, maybe I'm a little sensitive. How can I deal with this? How can I set boundaries? And so that is a fantastic book that I always recommend. And I know I said I would keep it to a minimum, but I'm also just going to throw out there boundaries, where you begin and I end. I probably am getting that backwards, but that is another great book that I often recommend, especially for those who are struggling to set boundaries, who are empathic. I don't know about you guys, but the number one thing I seem to get gifted over the holidays is like smudge sticks. They're easy to buy, and it's kind of like, oh, she's into this stuff, here's a smudge stick. Not to say like I'm ungrateful or anything. I definitely use them, and sometimes I'll actually re-gift them to people that I cleanse their houses, because a lot of people sometimes just don't have those smudge sticks laying around. They're not my favorite though, because of the smoke. The smoke can be very irritating, and I just have like super dry eyes ever since I got LASIK. This is besides the point, but what I use instead actually is spray smudge. Now this one specifically, I cannot find this same brand. It's really hard to get a hold of them, but I have linked a different brand that I think I'm going to buy as soon as this one runs out, and that is down below, and this is basically the equivalent. And honestly, I think it smells a bajillion times better, but it has sage in it, and it works the same as a smudge stick. And I just kind of go around and spray people's homes like this, and then kind of waft it about. Oh gosh, it smells so good. It totally works, and I kind of still feel that energy shift when I spray this. There's nothing different. It's just, the bottled oil versus, smoking something, which I don't think is necessarily good, especially if you're living somewhere really dry and it's really irritating, and you have pets that absolutely hate it, or young kids that absolutely can't stand the smell of the smoke. So spray sage is something that I carry with me everywhere when I'm setting up for like an event, and that way I'm not like burning something in somebody's house and they're like, whoa, don't start a fire. I can really quick just pull it out of my bag, spray it, and kind of cleanse the area before I get started doing readings. So I currently have 15 tarot decks, which probably is not that many in comparison to some people. But I'm going to talk to you guys next about tarot decks. Now, I have so many favorites for so many different reasons, but I'm going to assume that you guys are giving gifts. And so I'm going to first talk about the Talking to Heaven deck. Now, this deck is not what you are going to get. I accidentally bought a knockoff brand, and I plan on replacing this as soon as I can. This I got off of a website that I thought was just like a discount, but really it was that somebody just printed the cards themselves, and it was like, I don't know, not very cool of them to do that. But The real cards are actually a lot bigger than this, and you're going to get them in a fancy box, and it will come with like a booklet. So like I don't have a booklet for these at all, but these Talking to Heaven cards, they're made by James Von Prague, and he's a pretty popular medium, and he basically made them to act as like words or phrases that your loved ones and family members might say. So my death was painless, please don't worry or hold on to guilt, it's not your fault, the earth is our school, I was met by so many loving people. So there's a lot of good reassuring cards in here, and I think this is great for maybe somebody who's into this realm but is a little scared and maybe doesn't want to see a psychic, because these are really positive, uplifting cards. And maybe, you know, if they've just lost somebody, this could be a great gift because they can always connect with that person in spirit. They can set the intention, hey, I want to connect to so-and-so that I just lost. I want some words from them. I want some words from advice. And I pull this card, you are never alone. If I had enough money, I would buy this for like everybody at a funeral and just pass them out. But I think this is great for somebody who maybe has just lost somebody, or I mean, honestly, anybody who has loved ones in spirit. I think this deck is also really good for those friends and family that are like not really interested in this, but you want to kind of like get them into it, and you're like, here you go, take this. just to see if they might start getting, if they might be interested then in seeing like a medium or a psychic. But these are fantastic. Again, these are not how they're going to look like. They're going to be much bigger and much nicer. But these are fantastic either for yourself or for friends. Now my next recommendation for tarot cards is the original Rider-Waite Tarot. So any tarot deck that you see is based off of this one. And this one was made ages and ages ago by a guy that kind of came up with the concept, but it was actually Pamela Coleman Smith who painted all of these, and she worked in theater, and so these kind of have a really cool, I don't know, they don't look theater-y, but they kind of are, because they've got like a stage and a background and a subject, and everyone is kind of dressed in like Shakespearean garb because that was a lot of the plays that were going on at the time. And so this is the traditional Rider-Waite deck. When you think of tarot cards, this is the one that it was based off of. Now this again is different than oracle cards. Oracle cards can have any number and they can say anything, but these all have actual numbers on it. So it starts with the Fool, and we go through the major arcana, and then we go into minor arcana cards. And so any tarot deck that you pick up should match this deck. But why I recommend getting this deck is because you kind of need the original to learn it from. It's a lot harder to pick up a deck that kind of deviates off of the original, and you're trying to learn tarot that way when it doesn't have the exact same symbols in it. And so you want to have a copy of this deck, especially if you're learning, so that you can, you know, even side by side compare, okay, what does the devil card look like in this one versus the devil in another deck. And I'm actually going through a tarot class right now, and before I would have told you, no, it's okay, just get any tarot deck, but I now see how important it is to understand the original symbology in these cards. And so I highly recommend getting this, maybe even for somebody who's young and wants to learn. They're not the prettiest, unfortunately, and I think that's why a lot of people don't want them. But there is a really cool kind of like feminist one. I think, I can't remember what it's called, but I'll put it up here really quick. And that kind of has a better representation of like females and just non-gendered people in general. So that's a definitely really cool deck as well if you're not really super old school. But it has very, very similar imagery in it. And I want to make like a tarot course one day, but I need to learn and do a lot of practicing myself. But let me know if you guys would want to see that. So yeah, the Rider-Waite Tarot is my next recommendation, and I think it's good not only for yourself if you're wanting to learn, but I feel like teenagers and preteens would probably absolutely love this. Maybe not. Maybe, you know, their age range could suit better for oracle cards, but if they're already into this, give them the traditional one because they might not even know it exists. Now my next recommendation, I always recommend this. This is again my coach, Karen Fox, her cards that she built that I had to use while I was in the Aspen program, and it's based off of her teachings, which is a lot of what I teach. And now these are not tarot cards, these are specifically building your psychic ability cards. So Each day you pick a new card, it says the day number on it, and you do the things that it says on that card throughout your day. And it focuses on different areas of your psychic ability, like dreaming or your clairs, so it kind of runs the whole gamut. And it has in the back colored cards so that you can play different games. There's like psychic ability games that you need these for. So it's a fantastic little card deck. I recommend it all the time. Again, I have a whole other video on it, so I won't go too much into it. But I think if somebody you know or you yourself is really wanting to learn how to stretch your psychic abilities, do this for 90 days and you are going to see such a difference. I see such a difference even after like 2 weeks. It's crazy. So I would only gift this to other people if you know that they are learning. Otherwise, it might be a little bit too niche for them. So my next gift that I have for you guys are Astro Dice. Now these are ones that I had to get custom made because the ones online, they don't come in very many colors, but I'll still link the ones that you can find on Amazon. But these are fantastic for learning about astrology, as well as just having like a fun reading tool that is super cheap. And you can actually go onto my website and print out my Astro Dice instructions, because not a whole lot of people actually give instructions on how to use these. So I made a PDF and I'm actually going to make a video on how to use them pretty soon. So you'll at least be able to give that and know how to use them, or if you have them for yourself, you can do it yourself. And if you want your own custom made ones, I actually make them on my website. You can purchase those from me. I'm a little bit into resin myself. And essentially what you do with Astro Dice is you roll it, and then you have 3 different symbols that come up: 1 house, 1 planet, and 1 sign. And from that you can do a reading. And so I think that these are fun, great little like stocking stuffer type things that are metaphysical. They're a reading tool, but they're not like super woo-woo-y. You know, you're not handing somebody like a Ouija board, which I do probably have a few recommendations for those boards. I'll put those in the links down below. With the Astro Dice, you can use them very lightly. And when I say that, I mean, it's not super like spooky or anything. You're just rolling dice and you can basically make up a story using the dice. So I think that's great for people who maybe want to learn something, but you're not wanting to hand them something that maybe another family member is like, oh my gosh, you know, that's the devil or whatever. Honestly though, they're just super pretty. Like, and I love just having them, and I love actually setting them out as like decorations, and having people like ask me questions about them. So they're a very pretty kind of thing to have around, sort of like the crystal runes that you can buy. Now the last group of gifts I'm going to walk through are actually gifts that you can give to younger kids. So the first one that I want to show you guys, it has been well loved, well used, and this is the meditation book from Mind Body Baby. They actually have a few of these books. You can see on the back, like, they have chakras, crystals, astrology. I've only actually read this one. I want to get my hands on the others just to see what they're like. They're very like simple illustrations, which I originally thought my son would not like, but he actually loves this book. And I'll throw in a video of him doing his breathing practices, but I found that this has introduced the idea of taking deep breaths to him so well, because every time I turn a page, I take a deep breath. And then it took a few months, but he started copying me. And now whenever I say, hey, let's take a deep breath, like meditation, he will do it too. He'll make a really funny face and he'll be like, but he does it. It introduces the concept of breath work, which I think is super valuable for kids and learning how to control their emotions. Now, there are not a lot of like cards out there for young kids. This is like one of 2 that I've seen, but these are the children's spirit animal cards. They are not my 100% favorites, but they are one of the few that are out there. The only reason why they're not my favorite is I wish there were more cards. I use these at readings, and I'll just basically ask when there's like little kids around, and I'll say, oh, what's your spirit animal? Or what animal is most like you? Or what do you need to know right now? Very like keeping it brief and light and fun. And they'll pull over these cards and oh my gosh, do they love them. They're like, oh, that's my favorite animal. Oh my gosh. And then sometimes they'll be like, I don't like that one. And then they'll like dig around until they find the one that they like. So this is great for like, I would say ages 3 to like 10, probably not 10, 3 to 8. I don't know. I don't have a good sense of like kids, but it's like that age where they're still young. They don't quite understand how this stuff works. That's what I would use these for. And they have little messages. Learn from your mistakes. So it's only positive cards in here. Stand up for yourself. Everyone loves the unicorn card. Use your imagination. But I would also recommend this if you are a reader who is doing events where sometimes kids might be sitting down at your table. I think it's an essential one that I always pack whenever I have readings, because if there are kids that sit down, I'm not going to pull out my Rider-Waite tarot cards that have the devil on them. So this next product for kids, I think equally can be given to adults. It is a picture book, but it's called The Next Place. I have had this since I was a kid. And this, I don't know how I acquired it, but I recently reread it as like a teenager. And I realized, oh my gosh, this is all about death and dying and where you go when you die. You go to the next place. And it's just this beautiful imagery, and kind of like a poem, and the words are all, the next place that I go really won't be a place at all. There won't be any seasons, winter, summer, spring, or fall. I will be embraced by all the family and friends I've ever known. To me, this book was so reassuring as a child to know that there was somebody, somewhere that we went next that was positive, that was non-denominational. You know, this does not have any like Christian or any sort of religious undertones at all. I mean, I guess there's the assumption that there is somewhere that we go, which is religious in a way. But this book is fantastic for somebody grieving, for somebody who's a child that does not understand death and you need to introduce that concept. Honestly, even if you get it for yourself, maybe, you know, check it out from the library and then see if you like it. I just have always found this book incredibly reassuring and I absolutely love it. I'm so curious if it's popular, if you guys have seen this before, or if this is like new to you guys. But I think it's really good for kids because it's sort of written for kids. Now this next book I would recommend for preteens and teens, or if you just love mermaids. This is Mermaids 101. It's written by Doreen Virtue, and she actually also has a Fairies 101 book. Now, I will say it's a little hokey pokey. It's Doreen Virtue. So there's definitely some things in it that are like claiming to be truth and reality that you kind of have to read between the lines and be like, okay, probably not the case. But it's a fun read because it's very visual. She talks about Atlantis. She has these really cool pictures of mermaids. And she talks about just like connecting with the energy of mermaids. Also fairies for the other book. I mean, it is a little out there. Like some of these chapters are incarnated dolphins. I don't know. So this is definitely down the woo-woo train a little bit too far for me. So if you're passing this off to somebody, you know, you might have to let them know, hey, take this book with a grain of salt. But if somebody's really into mermaids, you're going to get a lot of like folklore. You're going to get a lot of like ideas on how to connect with them, the types of mermaids, people, you know, giving mermaid sightings. So this is a great book for just honestly anybody that loves mermaids and you want to kind of like encourage that child, that inner child in them. I still think that, I mean, I bought this because I just love guides that come across as mythological beings. To me, I have a lot of guides that look that way. So if you really resonate with that, you might find this book very helpful. Alrighty, you guys, those are my recommendations. Please let me know if you have other recommendations that you want, like you want to get somebody a tarot deck and you want to get them something specific. Let me know. I can answer those questions and hopefully help you out before the holiday season is over. And if you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up. It helps out my channel so much. But thank you guys so much for watching and I will see you in next week's video. Alrighty, bye.